Welcome to Get a Word In, a podcast about content marketing. I'm your host, Adam Walker. I'm passionate about sharing stories and knowledge through content, especially in the form of podcasting. In fact, I co-founded Edgewise.media, a podcast-first marketing content agency. On this show, I interview content marketers at some of the top companies in the world and discover what's working for them, what isn't, and most importantly, what's next. So stay tuned and get ready for some great content about content marketing. Joining me on the show today is Jennifer Denney. Jennifer, welcome to the show and tell us about yourself and your agency.
Thanks for having me. My name is Jennifer Denney. I am the owner of Elevated Marketing Solutions. Digital marketing agency, pretty highly focused on ads though. We do a lot though within the funnel. We're in Indianapolis. We've been around 6 years. But I like to say I've been in digital marketing for 15 years plus. That's
great.
More you want to know.
That's right. You and me both. Well, let's dive in and let's start talking content. So for content, first question is what's working right now? Like where's your head at? What are you focused on?
Right now, Reels.
Reels. Okay. Tell me more.
Yeah. So Facebook is behind, and they're behind because of TikTok. And so I have been posting consistently with Reels, and I think people are totally overthinking it. I'm not sure though if they're overinflating the numbers or what, but it's like I got 7,000 views in the last 30 days for like 15 Reels, and 85 to 90%, because they show you, was not people who follow me.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. And so it's, that's obviously video content. That's really hard to measure though, like getting down to the actual, that's really high up in the funnel. It really is.
Yeah. Right.
And I could go down a rabbit hole. My other focus is this content update.
Okay. Google. The Google content update?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that.
So it's being released right now. It's called the Helpful Content Update. And Google has basically trying to go out and get ahead of making sure that we're producing good content. And they shared like all of this like questions of human first content. And some of it I think they can track, and some of it I think has the word feeling in it. And I'm like, not there yet.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, maybe the AI is that good. That could be frightening, but you never know. All right. So it's human first content. It's helpful content. Like how is that? How do you define that?
Right. Good question. So you have to create machines that can define feeling on some of these questions that they've come out with. Do you have existing or intended audience for your business or site that would find the content useful if they came directly to you? So the key word is the useful. Who defines useful? They have these quality raters, which are an additional, set of humans. So they're determining with this big giant, I think it's like hundreds and hundreds of pages of what they are determining. So it's important you understand what all those are.
Yeah. Right.
They've got questions like, does your site have a primary purpose or focus? Okay, well, that's easy. That's just telling you that don't have your eggs in multiple baskets. Are these service items related enough?
Right.
That they're in the same realm. Otherwise, you should probably splinter it off and have a separate website. Will someone reading your content leave feeling like they had a satisfying experience? What is that, Google?
That's a tough question. How do you even know? I guess what they're trying to ask is like, are you answering the questions thoroughly? Maybe, right? Maybe that's the way to look at it.
Maybe, they're moving this G4, so the new
Mm-hmm.
into engagement metrics. So bounce rate is going away. They see that as not a helpful, and they've defined what engagement is. And
Right.
so they're looking for people to come into your content and spend time reading through, getting what they want. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, there's lots of questions in here. Is the content primarily to attract people from search engines rather than made for humans? I think they're trying to address AI there.
Interesting. So they're trying. You think they're trying to almost circumvent AI created content versus human created content? Then.
Well, I mean, some people are getting carried away. You get these emails of write a book in 7 days with AI.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's tons of ads. I mean, on Reels in particular, actually, there's ads all about like create content with AI, create content with AI. And I'm like, no, I think I'm good. Thanks for that. I
I
appreciate
don't
your
mind
option.
those AI.
Yeah.
What I think you need to do though is use it as an inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't use it as everything is going to be written by AI.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the
Like,
danger.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, they've got using extensive automation to produce content on many topics. So it's the same thing. Like
Right. Right.
if
If
you're
you automate too
automating
much
that stuff.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
all right. So for what's working, you said Reels, and then of course the Google content update, human first content in particular. What's not
Podcasting.
what's not working? Like, what are you avoiding right now from a content marketing perspective?
I don't know if there's anything I'm avoiding. Like,
What are you not taking the time to do anymore?
I don't know. I have my hands in a lot of, I mean, story wise, I'm a team of four.
Yep.
We produce a podcast, a weekly podcast. We produce 4 blog posts a month.
Mm-hmm.
We produce and go back and update blog posts. We do live shows. People are watching those live shows after the fact. We do a newsletter. We do a LinkedIn newsletter. Um, we are rehashing old content and like, so one of my most popular reels came from a live event that we did and like just chopped it up and just like
Yep.
pulled that out.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I feel like I'm heavily invested in content and I'm just adding to it.
Okay. Okay. And it seems like of everything you mentioned, there's audio, there's lots of written content, there's some video in the
There's
form
lots of
of
video,
live stream, and there's video in the form of Reels, right?
but there's video in the form of YouTube and a longer.
Okay.
I'm doing a trifecta. So when we release a blog post, there is a written form, there is a YouTube video that goes with it, there is reels coming out of it, and there's podcasts. So I guess I'm doing 4 now.
Got it. I
You
like
know,
that.
I think I've heard this concept of people starting with the smaller and then moving to the larger. Like I think Gary Vee actually like said it like, and I think that's really easy for him to say because he has dwarves of people. So I'm not
Yeah,
trying
that
to,
feels like the exact opposite of what you should do. And honestly, it's the opposite of what I advocate for, which is start with a podcast. It's long form, it's easy to record, it's easy to create, and then
yeah.
take that and chunk it, create blog posts, create everything else out of it. Now, I have gone the angle you've gone before where you write a blog post first to kind of frame your thinking, and then you record like a solo podcast based on that, and then you chunk up all the content. So I've gone that direction as well. I think there's a lot of value there too. But
Yeah.
starting small and then working into bigger content actually doesn't make much sense to me at all.
No, because even with these reels and stuff, there's like time that is involved in like making it and creating it. And
Okay.
I think if you go back to evergreen content, you know, is this a subject that is going to test time and it's still going to be valuable, which is actually on Google's list here.
Yeah.
Of items. I forget exactly how they said it. But it's worded in a way that, or do you write a particular word count because you heard or read that Google has a preferred word count? So it's like thoroughly cover the subject.
Right. Cover the subject and be done. It
and
doesn't
better
matter
than
what the word count is. Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
are you writing about things simply because they seem trending and not because you write about them otherwise for existing audience? I see people make that mistake.
Interesting. Okay. That's an interesting angle. Good to
Go
know.
get medium.com if you feel like writing about something that doesn't have to do with your business. Like
Yep. Yeah, I write on Medium about random stuff all the time. It's great.
You're confusing search
that.
engines. I've removed a ton of content from other clients because okay, that was cute at the time, but it
doesn't matter now. Doesn't
matter. Yeah.
So, all right. So I'm curious. You just mentioned a barrage of content that you create. Where are you seeing your content performing the best? You did mention Reels earlier. So is that your front runner? Is that where it's performing best? And if that's true, what's performing second best for you right now?
I think that's a candy, the Reels, because I'm seeing all the views.
Mm-hmm.
But so with everything going on in the background with the whole iOS 14, it's really, really hard, and it's going to get harder to attribute direct success to one type of marketing or another. And so we need to change that mindset of back to radio and TV days. We don't want to go back there. I understand. I get it. But it doesn't matter. And so you will make that into the funnel. Like I'm directly searching for what you offer cheaper if you focus more at the top. So you got to let all that stuff kind of build. I mean, I went after Reels and then I went back after it. I'm probably only a month and a half of doing 15 Reels, so it's just kind of candy but the long form content that I did a couple of years ago is, taking off
just
now.
Chugs away. Yeah.
I hate writing. I hate it. So I started off with a live show.
Yeah.
And then it would get transcribed later. And then I just kept forcing myself into, okay, I need to write.
Yep.
The podcast came about because I brought my team in.
Right.
I didn't want, all of our content to be like Jennifer. Like I wanted to showcase the team knowledge. So I hear people all the time. They're like, oh, I heard your podcast, or our clients, or didn't you say that on the podcast? So
nice.
You're not going to see this in your Google Analytics. You're not going to see it.
No, it's really hard to track what that are. I mean, I even tell like clients, like they always ask me like, how do we know the podcast is successful? And I just tell them, look, there's three metrics to start with, and I'll go in order from least important to most important. Mm-hmm. Least important is downloads. Like the metrics around podcasts and just seeing downloads is just terrible because the whole, it's such a fragmented market. So downloads is the least important thing to track. It is helpful to see if it's trending upward or not, but that's really all that's helpful. The next thing is are you seeing traffic driven to the podcast page on your website or to individual podcast episode pages, right? So are you driving in additional website traffic you otherwise would not have? And the third metric, which is by far the most important, is are you seeing engagement on social posts you create from the podcast content? Like that's by far the most important. And honestly, the one that they tend to not track very much. So
we did that. We used a software called Descript, and we took out little pieces and did the audiograms, and we were doing them in the square format.
Right.
We switched them over to Reels, and now they're going over into YouTube Shorts, and they're going over into TikTok, and they're going over, and now I'm like, does it need to go on the blog?
Put it everywhere. Take it out everywhere. Go for it. Why not?
Yeah. If you like the shorter version,
then... do the whole thing. Well, all right. Yeah. So last question related to content. So I think this is going to be a difficult question for you because you're doing so much stuff. If you could only focus on one content related activity for the next 12 months, just one, what one activity would you focus on?
12 months.
12 whole months to just dominate in one thing. What would that one thing be?
I guess my long form content on my written, because that's where it starts.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I can't but But then the short form is getting we can't think in terms of 12 months. Where is this marketing?
All right. If you had to focus for 3 months, then what would you focus for the next 3 months?
I'm focusing on Reels right now of content I've already written. It depends on where people are at in their content journey, what they should focus on, but I already have the long form.
Yeah.
I just need to focus on the short form.
All right. That's fair. So Jennifer, at the end of these episodes, I like to recap the conversation. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a second, recap what we talked about, and then I'm going to ask you if you have any additional thoughts or comments or if I missed anything. Does that work for you?
Okay. Yep.
All right. So for question number 1, what's working with content marketing? You said Reels. You said 85% of your views are people that don't currently follow. I think you said 85 to 90% of your views are people that don't currently follow you, which is amazing. You also said the Google content update, which is called the helpful content update. Google wants us producing good content, human first content, and that content needs to be actually useful to humans, presumably. For what's not working, we actually didn't really talk about what's not working. We really talked more about what you do, which is you do a podcast, a live show, a newsletter, 4 blog posts per month, LinkedIn newsletter, and you rehash old content. You said you start with a blog post and then you do written content from that, YouTube, Reels, and podcasts from there, which I think is a really great methodology. For where does your content perform best? We talked a little bit just about how it's getting harder to attribute success to just one thing, and we need to look at the metrics as a whole. And so, and you did, of course, mention that Reels is performing well, which, of course,
is it the candy? Is it the candy?
It's the candy. It's the candy. And if you can focus on just one thing, long term, you said you'd focus on written content because that's what everything else flows from, which I think is really clever. But in the short run, you would definitely focus on Reels because it's just killing it. So, did I miss anything in that recap?
I just want to say we're a team of 4. And we're doing all that content. So I'm just a swift kick in that if you don't think you can do it, yes, you can.
That's right. You can. And you should. You should, because content is the core of all marketing. If you're going to do marketing, you've got to have good content. Without it, you are dead in the water. You shouldn't even be having a marketing conversation if you don't have content.
Correct.
So, that's right. Well, Jennifer, this is great. I love the work that you're doing. I'm going to make sure I'm subscribed to your Reels in particular. I want to see what's going on there. And thanks for joining me on the show today.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Get a Word In, brought to you by Edgewise.media, a podcast-first marketing content agency. To learn more about Edgewise, visit www.edgewise.media. I'm your host, Adam Walker. To connect with me, check out my blog at adamjwalker.com. Thanks for listening, and make sure to subscribe now so you don't miss our next great conversation about content marketing.